Welcome back to episode 6 of the Double Down podcast presented by WaterWave. Today is Friday, October 21st, and throughout this podcast journey, I'm continually learning and thinking of new ideas. So today I'm introducing the Double Down Weekly Wrap-Up, a segment that I want to start every podcast with, bringing guests into my life and the events that occurred during the previous week. So like I mentioned, today is October 21st, which means that I am 4 months post-surgery for my ACL, my meniscus, my lateral, and my medial meniscus. 4 months is kind of a big milestone for the meniscus injury because it's, when you have an LET surgery through your meniscus, you have to let your meniscus heal for a while. So the biggest thing is protecting that meniscus. They staple and they put different things in your knee to protect your knee. So you got to make sure you allow that to heal. So now I can, now I can kind of squat a little bit more. I can load a little bit more weight up on my knee. So the process now is the big strength gaining process. I have a big test coming up November 2nd that will basically tell me if I can start running or not. So, we're kind of crossing these little milestones and we're getting better every single day. So that's kind of just a update on my injury. Let's update Gopher basketball. We had a practice this week with fans in the stands. We had an open practice. That was awesome to see the excitement for Gopher basketball. Get people in the gym. I think people were especially excited because we just signed Dennis Evans. It's not signed, verbal commit. Dennis Evans, a 7'1", 4-star or 5-star recruit from California. So we're super excited about Dennis. He's going to be a huge addition to our team, especially on the defensive end, blocking shots. We're super excited about him. He's a friend of Jaden Henley. He's one of my teammates here at the University of Minnesota. So we're excited to get him here. And we're all about that C2F. You probably see it if you're a Gopher fan. We say C2F all the time, committed to family. So that's what we're all about. So we're super excited about him. This past weekend, I was at a wedding down in Iowa. So I want to give a shout out to my guy, Trey Newman, who I know is listening to the podcast, wishing him and his now wife, Allie, all the success. And it was awesome to see some of my friends like Lincoln and Josh. So shout out Lincoln and Josh. Was with my family down there. So just good quality time. And then to wrap up the weekly wrap up, the NBA season is back. The Timberwolves played their first preseason game on Wednesday. The Lakers, who was kind of my other team, they played on Tuesday. So the NBA is back. If you know me, I'm a huge NBA fan. I sit on my couch and watch games every single night. So I'm super excited the NBA is back. I'm just it feels like it just ended. It feels like the Warriors just won the finals a couple weeks ago, but now it's back, and I'm super excited to be getting to go to games. If you know me, I'm a huge Timberwolves fan. I try to make it to like every game I can. So I'm super excited the NBA season's back and getting ready to go here. That means college basketball is right around the corner, and that means our season is gearing up. And we actually do. So today's Friday. We actually have our first scrimmage tomorrow. It's a closed scrimmage, but I know the guys are super excited. We play Colorado State, and just excited to get going and see what we can do on the court together. So that's the Double Down Weekly Wrap Up. It's going to be brought to you guys at the beginning of every podcast episode, diving into different kind of deals. And we also want to mention that if you wanted anything discussed on the daily, the Double Down Daily Weekly Wrap Up, it's kind of hard to say that there. I gotta get that locked in for the future pods. But if you want to discuss anything, you want me to discuss anything, make sure you go check out our socials on Instagram or in the comments on YouTube, and just leave a comment or leave a message or something like that if there's anything you want to discuss, or if you want to hop on and discuss it with me. We know we're always open to that kind of stuff. We're looking for new ideas, so definitely do that. And that's that's been the Double Down Weekly Wrap Up, and we're now going to hop into our feature program with an amazing guest. So make sure you turn your mics up and you're paying attention, because this is a pretty awesome guest, and I'm super excited to have him on the podcast. So yeah, we're going to get going with that now. Welcome back to your featured program. I'm very excited to be joined this week with a guest via Zoom. Our guest was named Division III National Player of the Year by the National Basketball Coaches Association. He earned All-American honors. He was also named Division III West District Player of the Year, as well as CoSIDA Academic All-American Team, my friend Booker Coplin.
What's
Booker,
up?
super excited to have you on the podcast. A guy that I grew up watching along my journey and seeing what you do at your level. Me being a D2 guy, you being a D3 guy. I feel like, you see those kind of people, especially when you're playing at an elite level. We're gonna get into all that, your awesome career, but I want to start with your early basketball journey. Take me through basketball growing up. Was that something that you loved at an early age, or how did basketball come into your life?
Absolutely. Basketball was super strong in my family. So I think having that influence, both my parents played. I was shooting on a mini basket before I could walk. So that was the main influence on me, just sports in general, really. Um, but basketball specifically for sure was a huge part of my life all through growing up and having my dad play with me every single day. That was how I kind of really got into it. And then growing up, just continued that and having him be my coach all through youth. I mean, I played three sports, but still having those influences in the family is really what made that one stick out for sure.
Yeah, no, and I was the same way. My dad coached my sports and coached me on the way up, and I feel
Yeah,
like you develop that kind of a deeper passion, especially when it's like
absolutely.
you got to get in the car, and if you didn't do well that day, I don't know, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna speak for you, but my dad was gonna let me hear it. So I think it's
Oh yeah, you had to get the blunt end of all the yelling in practice in game. He had to take out all his frustrations on you. So um, you got that passion for sure at an early age.
yeah, you develop the thick skin too. You're allowed
Yeah,
to you
yeah,
hear stuff that maybe some of the other teammates don't hear, but you know it's all in love
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so then you end up you go to Shakopee High School. You have a pretty good high school career. Take us through your thoughts through high school in terms of playing college basketball. Is that something you always wanted to do, or is that something that, the opportunity presented itself later? How did that go for your process?
Yeah, it was always like, I mean, I had a really strong football influence as well. So like I actually kind of grew up thinking that football was going to be kind of my path. But I think just being at Shakopee specifically, our football team wasn't the greatest, and basketball was. And so I think that just naturally I had a lot of fun playing. We were a lot better. And that kind of just led me down that path. I didn't really like think too much about college basketball until later on. My coach is kind of an old head, and he didn't really like the AAU.
Yeah.
So he was very early on like, no AAU. And if you want to play in my program, like you got to play for, the Shakopee summer league, fall leagues, for everything. Like you have to play for us if you want that like early influence in the role. And so I think that eventually he kind of came around before my senior year that summer where I was like playing really well. Some colleges were interested, and I was like, I think I might want to play. He was like, all right, you should probably join a AAU team. He came around, and so then I literally played for like three tournaments in the summer before my senior year, and had like all the MIAC,
Hmm.
some WIAC, Wisconsin school, D3 schools were really interested, and that was kind of was like, all right, I think I want to, keep playing, but nothing higher than D3 really. I could have walked on somewhere, but I really just wanted to play. I think that
Yeah.
was my main thing. I just loved playing and hooping, and I wanted to come on and right away just play. And school was really important to me at that time too. So I was like, D3 would be perfect. I can do both. Have not a crazy schedule wise. Can do a lot both, but um, yeah, I always knew I wanted to play something. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
I think it's a testament to, I talk about on the podcast before self-evaluation and seeing like, hey, this is where I'm at right now. And,
yeah,
that doesn't mean I can't be a pro. That doesn't mean I can't make money in this game, but hey, this is the spot I'm at right now. And I think about
yeah,
I think about my own journey too. And it's like, yeah, I would have loved to go to Minnesota out of high school, but I wasn't good enough yet. And that's just the straight up
yeah.
fact of the matter, and I think
Absolutely.
everybody has their own, path and journey, and your journey
Yeah.
initially led you to River Falls to start, correct?
Yep, that's right. I went to Wisconsin right away.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know what it was really, but like both my parents went to Augsburg.
Hmm.
Maybe that was the youth in me trying to like fight against that. But I really thought that Wisconsin River Falls had everything for me, and I thought it was a perfect fit, and just
Mhm.
ended up not being.
Yeah.
But no
Yeah.
hate there. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, ended up
yeah,
not being, and you transferred to Augsburg, and it
yeah,
works out for the best for you. Take me
yeah,
through
yeah.
your initial. You come into Augsburg, you transfer in. What's going through your head? Because obviously you have confidence and you're a pretty good player and you can have a pretty good career. Take us
Yeah,
through like the early ages, the freshman sophomore year terms of stuff at Augsburg and what you were thinking for your college career.
for sure. Well, I knew like coming out of high school that it really had come down to Augsburg or River Falls. I really loved Coach Grease over at Augsburg, and I just kind of picked Wisconsin for a lot of other reasons.
Hmm.
And when I, made that decision to switch over, he was, really excited, and that really helped me be excited as well, and like really be like happy with that decision. And I came in and just, worked my ass off. That's what I, took pride in doing,
Hmm.
and really just wanted to prove that I could help the team and deserve a spot. And it I mean, I really gelled with coach, and I think that was a huge part of why I had all my success at Augsburg. Like he was just like the perfect coach for me, and I just learned so much from him, and really took everything, and it worked out for me. Early on, we were really good too. I had a lot of alumni that were old and had a lot of experience, and like played the game really well, and I
Yeah.
learned a lot from them as well. And so that really helped. My sophomore year, we actually won the MIAC. So like my first year to come in and like really be on such a great team
Yeah.
was so like fortunate, so
Mhm.
that also really helped
Yeah,
my
no,
career as well.
I think I was kind of in a similar boat when it comes to that. I came in and my first coach was a little different than my second coach. My first coach
Mhm.
kind of developed that that mindset in me, and then my second coach and me really gelled really well, and he allowed me to kind
Yeah,
of I think if you have to have that that top down support, and that's what I think is so awesome here in Minnesota too is like
for sure.
if your coach doesn't believe in you as a player on the court, it's going to be tough to believe in yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So kind of speak about that. Is that something that kind of went into your college career? Like, obviously we'll talk about the crazy numbers you put up and all the success you had, but do you agree that kind of starts at the top? Is that something you had in your
Absolutely.
career?
I mean, yeah, I had one of my like lines I used at one of my speeches was that you can only be as great as your coach allows you to be. And I think that that's really holds a lot of weight. I went through a lot of struggles through high school, battling with my coach all the time, and it was really frustrating. And so to come and find a coach, a mentor like Greece, just it finally felt like so good to have. And yeah, I think that that changed everything about my game. And I was really fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
totally agree.
No, yeah, and it clearly worked out for you. You go into your last year, which is 2019, 2020, you average, 24 a game. You guys have a pretty successful career. You're named to, every list you can be named to, in
Yeah,
terms of, national player of the year. There's only one guy that gets that, and that's you.
right, right.
Take us through that year. We'll get into to after that after, but what was that year for you? What was that year like for your confidence? What was that year like for you as a basketball player first?
Yeah, well, that first, I mean, my junior year was we were coming off a MIAC championship. We had lost a lot of seniors, and we were looking like, we're young, but we have talented guys, and
Yeah.
so we're gonna still shift a little bit more into, more scoring from me instead of more of that role. And coach was talking to me like we might need some more like scoring from you directly, and honestly, I just went into this season really open minded. Like we're
Yeah.
just gonna continue to play, do our thing, and see what happens. And I think like the first 3 games, I was averaging like 30, and I was like just feeling great, and we were playing well and moving. And I was like, all right, there's no way this is gonna continue. Like I just wanted to keep having fun, playing well, like we were doing as a team, and
Yeah.
it just never really stopped.
Yeah.
And but it was like honestly such a team thing too. Like it was so much fun. We had a great year that year. We went all the way back to the championship, and we almost got it, but it was like still so amazing to have back-to-back championship, like in the championship games in the MIAC. And then senior year was more rough, but still had a great year, great
Mhm.
team, and dealt with some other things going on, some injuries there. But other than that, we still like ended on a super like 3-year run
Yeah.
where we were in the playoffs, fighting for a championship every year, and I'm super proud of that and all those guys on those teams.
Yeah.
So
What part of that, what timeline, what was the timeline like in that 3 years run that like, hey, I'm going to be a professional basketball player? For those of you that don't know, you are, you're over in Germany in the Bundesliga Pro B playing over there, and which is a really great league. At what point did you realize like, hey, I can make money doing this thing?
well, yeah, that was part of what like brought me to Greece way back when he was recruiting me. He was like, "Hey, I have actually some connections overseas." And
Yeah.
at that point, that was a crazy idea to me. Like that's so far down the road, but still, it's like kind of fun to think about. I've been playing sports my whole life. Why would
Yeah.
I, want to stop then? And
Exactly.
so, I obviously had that in the back of my head for a while, but it didn't really become serious until through like during my senior year a little bit, but really not even until like the end.
Yeah.
But I think that when you start to go through the mental process of like this has to end at some point, you kind of fight back. You're like, no, I don't want this to end,
Yeah.
and it's like who I am. It's like a huge part of my life. I don't want it to stop.
Hmm.
So then and you want to prove that you can play at the next level. You have that competitiveness in you, and so I think that it just slowly over time kind of developed. Like, yeah, I'm gonna try and see what happens. I got
Yeah.
nothing to lose now. Might as well try and keep playing and use his connections, use his experience, other guys that have before, and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think you talk about the competitive side. Obviously you're a competitive
Yeah,
guy. I see, I've
yeah,
seen it in the programs. I'm a competitive guy. You
yeah,
have that. You kind of have that like innate thought in the back of your head, like, yeah, maybe I was a D3 guy, maybe I was a D2 guy, but hey, watch me go make more money than
yeah,
you did playing basketball. And it's that
yeah,
competitive spirit. Is that something that you kind
yeah.
of that fueled you?
I had totally like a little chip on my shoulder. Like
Yeah.
I was way under the radar in high school. Like, I mean, I wasn't D1 good coming out of
Hmm.
high school, but you have that little like chip. Like I can still play with you guys. I can
Yeah,
still show that D3 is good basketball. There's
for sure.
great hoopers that come from there. And
Yeah.
so you want to prove that for sure. That was a huge part of my competitiveness.
Yeah, no doubt. I definitely see it every single
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah.
it's something that I think it's that just innate like growing up as a competitor, and it's like I
Yeah.
want this. It just fuels your fire. He puts that
Yeah.
chip on you, and I
Yeah.
feel like you have to have that too. It's something that
Yeah.
is, as a
100%.
competitor, is if you want to make it
Yeah.
to, you can speak about your pro career, but if you want to make it over there, you got to have that, chip on the back of your
Have
shoulder.
to.
Yeah,
It's a
speak of
whole
actually,
different
yeah,
beast.
speak about that for a little. We'll get into the next part, but speak about that kind of, that whole different beast for people that don't understand overseas basketball.
Well, I mean, I definitely did like my research, and went into it, looking up other guys, other people I talked to that have connections overseas, and using my coach's resources. And they all say the same thing, but you don't really like understand until you go through it. That's the truth with a lot of things, but it's just you hear everyone say like it's such a grind, it's tough mentally, it's emotional, all these things, but you don't realize how much until you do it because you're gone for so long. You miss your family. The workload is just different.
Hmm.
And it wears on you,
Yeah,
and it's such a long season. And I think honestly, the hardest part is just for me, I'm super family based,
yeah,
being away from them and having, like I said, my dad's influence, my mom and sister too, like growing up with the basketball, and now all of a sudden they've been at every single one of my games for 23 years, and now
yeah.
all of a sudden they can't. They're watching on video,
Hmm.
and so that was really difficult. But again, I'm just so lucky that even last year they were able to come visit for like a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and just having them be at a couple games really just helps so much. Not everyone gets that.
Yeah.
So
Well, as a,
that's definitely the hardest part.
yeah, I mean, as a professional player, there's a lot of different, challenges that you face. But especially the way you came into it. Obviously,
Yeah,
you had a great college career. It ends in 2020, and then 2020 comes around. And you're getting ready to figure out your next plans. And one of the reasons why we're on the podcast is because of injuries and adversity. You end
yep,
up tearing your ACL, your MCL, and meniscus in March of 2020. Take
yeah.
us through, we like to talk about initial emotional responses. Take us through where was your head at before this, like the injury, and then where did your head go like immediately when you found out about the injury?
Yeah, so we had just ended our season. We had fell short, like didn't make the tournament. We were super like disappointed. I was done hooping with Augsburg, and all those emotions were hitting,
Yeah.
being done with college. And I took like some time off. Um, and I went back and hooped with Shakopee back
Yeah.
in the old gym. And they asked me to come play with them, be like a scout guy just for their upcoming game, get the guys hyped to have me in the gym before their
Hmm.
their playoff games. And yeah, it happened right at the end of practice, just the same move you always do, a little plant from the outside exploding up to the rim, and just
Hmm.
buckled and gave out. And my initial like emotion was like a little panic, a
Yeah.
little like scare. And because I'm thinking after I'm done with Augsburg, I started to think about pro and using my resources from coach. And I hadn't really talked to anybody seriously yet. So it wasn't like I had all these plans, anything. I
Yeah.
really was just kind of waiting. So I didn't like ruin a bunch of plans. It was just kind of like shock,
Yeah.
like, damn, this is real. And I didn't even have to like, I didn't have to get tests or like images or anything. It was like the weird thing was like you could walk on it,
Hmm.
but it was not right. And when you're walking on it that my knee should not be shifting like this while I'm walking. It was
Yeah.
like sort of gross. And I called my dad right after, and yeah, that was obviously really emotional because I knew
Yeah. And
my
especially,
grandpa is like a physical therapist, so
okay.
I've seen it, I've been through it, I've
Yeah.
done all the like PT school kind of stuff, and so I just kind of knew. And yeah, I mean, I saw the trainer at Augsburg, and he did a super simple test and knew immediately, like it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is done.
Yeah, we
And
talk about
so
that. We talk about that test a lot on the podcast. We've had some other ACL guys, and
mhm,
you know, I, where was your head at going into that? They call it the Lockman's test, the ACL test.
mhm.
Where was your head going into that? Did you know before he did that test? Like, obviously, you knew something's not right, but were you still hoping for the best?
I mean, I really kind of knew.
Hmm.
I didn't like, I obviously hadn't gone through it before, but like the way that it buckled and I had felt it pop,
Yeah.
like I just knew like
Hmm.
this is not good. It's probably, I'd heard ACL before. I was hoping that it wasn't, obviously, but I pretty much knew, like you just
Hmm.
kind of know in your gut. Um, and then yeah, I'm calling my trainer Mac and telling him like what happened. And I'm crying, and he knows, like
Yeah.
everyone knows. And he
It's
was
that.
like, we'll
Yeah.
come in, we'll get it tested anyway. But, I'm telling Greece at Augsburg as I'm walking in, I can barely walk. And
Hmm.
all I had to say was like, it was my knee. And he just knew,
Yeah. It's
everybody
that
just kind
gut
of knew.
feeling. It's that gut feeling.
Yeah.
I talked about it before on the podcast. It's like until you go through it, you don't know what it's really like. It's like this something like internally just tells you like, hey,
Yeah.
you messed something up. I knew it right away on my
Yeah.
first one, and then I knew it even, more on my second one. I was like, oh
Yeah.
dang,
I
like
mean, I can't imagine having gone through it once already. I'm sure you even more know like
mhm.
this is the same thing.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I talked about it before on the podcast, but I just went to pass the ball and my knee buckled, and I just looked at coach and was like, I tore my ACL again, and it was like,
Yeah, and they're like, "Come on, can't you like just
yeah,
wait? Like
yeah,
just
stay
be positive."
positive, stay positive. It's like, no, bro,
But
this is torn.
yeah,
Like I'm a hundred
yeah,
percent sure it's torn.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
now I have to go through 14 more months of this and that.
yeah.
But anyways, you end up confirming that it's torn. You go in and get surgery. What was your kind of mindset? Obviously, you had plans on being pro basketball player, exploring that kind of route. Did that kind of shift that mentality, or where was your head at in terms of your future basketball career with surgery, staring you down in the face?
Right. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like it was super kind of unique timing
Hmm.
because my season had ended and we were on spring break. So I just like messed up my knee. I knew I was going to need surgery, but it was spring break after my season had ended, and we had decided to go out to California. But it was also like my uncle lives in California, so we go out there every year.
Yeah.
So I was like in California. I had this brace on, and I could kind of walk. They had me doing some pre-surgery rehab, whatever. But it was also right when like COVID was happening. So all this like games were getting shut down. Like the Mayak had shut down their playoff schedule, and the airports were even like shutting down. Like, should we even go to California? All these
Yeah.
things, like all these things are happening like that week that I tear my knee,
Hmm.
and they're like the flights are getting canceled, and I'm like, wait, what? The surgeries are getting canceled. Like I'm on the phone with the doctors and stuff, and they're like, look, you need this surgery. You do not want to wait for whatever is about to go down. Because at that time, you didn't really you knew what COVID was, but you didn't know how serious it was about to
Yeah.
be.
Hmm.
And they're like, we need to get you in. So I was like 3 days into our Cali trip, and they're like, we're gonna get you the last surgery that we're gonna before everything shuts down. You need to get back. So we like flew home, ended the trip early,
Yeah.
and I got the last surgery before COVID happened at TCO, and so I was just super lucky again. Otherwise, I've been sitting
Hmm.
there another couple months,
Yeah.
and so it was sort of like a distraction in a way. And then COVID hit, and in sort of a weird like selfish way, I guess it was like so lucky to
Yeah.
have that timing.
Hmm.
Obviously COVID was really devastating, and but it helped with my like just being stuck at home. Everyone was.
Yeah.
Everyone had to sit there and do what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so my mindset was really not like I wasn't too focused on the future. I wasn't thinking about basketball too much.
Yeah.
Make just being with my family too helped a lot because everyone was just at home.
No
You
doubt.
know, I
Yeah.
didn't have to deal with like trying to go to class on my knee. Everyone was going through all this stuff. We had a whole bunch of time off, so it was just made it like easier for me
Yeah.
selfishly, I guess. But
Yeah. I think
so
that
yeah, it was a
definitely,
really weird thing.
yeah, it definitely helps your mental health when it comes to,
Yeah.
the fact that, other people are, on basically on house arrest.
Right.
This is,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we kind of forget how crazy, the
It was
initial of
wild.
COVID
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
No
And
one was hooping. I
no,
feel like
no,
some of the
no one.
struggles is like when you're like can't do anything is watching everyone else be able to hoop, and no one was. So I was like, all right, well,
Yeah.
that probably helped my mental a lot.
Yeah, no, you're like, I'm good. I can
Yeah.
just relax. I
Yeah.
remember, my second one, it was like it was during summer workout. So it was extremely tough because I was like, everybody's out there hooping, like,
Yeah.
I'm coming off the second one, like this sucks, man.
Yeah.
I was at home in
Yeah.
Matamida and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
you get through the dog days
Yeah.
of the injury. Kind of talk about those dog days, when you can't walk and you can't get out of bed. Where did your mental health go, and like what did you rely on to like kind of get you through those days?
Oh man, those are tough. There's a lot of pain. Like
Yeah.
that hurts. But again, I think just having my family there for me just helps so much.
Yeah.
Having living at home and really like relying on them to help me with everything. It's embarrassing, like needing help to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom
Yeah.
all the
Yeah, bro.
time, but like having them just made it so much easier and really helped me through that whole process. But obviously, you're still like you're just down, depressed. It's
Hmm.
like really hard. You distract yourself with a lot of things, playing cards, watching stuff. You get sick of video games and
Yeah.
movies. So, luckily we were able to play a lot of card games and
Hmm.
just do other things to help distract you. But obviously, I think that you still gotta like face every morning you wake up and you're like, damn, I still got so much left before this starts to get better,
Yeah.
and makes it really tough. But I mean, I don't know. I think that just like doing at least the little things,
Yeah.
even just strengthening the little muscles that you can't even move your leg, but you
Yeah.
can just flex it, and just
Yeah.
doing those little things, having something to do kind of helps
Right.
you stay focused on something, you know.
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you talk about like
Yeah.
facing it every day. It's
Yeah.
obviously you want to distract yourself with, the downtime, but every morning you wake up, it's like, okay, here's my next battle. I mean, especially with
Hmm.
training house and TCO, you have, what you
Yeah.
what you got to get done each day, and it's like, hey, I gotta face this battle, I got to get it done,
Hmm.
and that's okay, and then I'm gonna get through it. And I'm gonna get to, hang out with my
Yeah.
fam, and hopefully mom makes something
Yeah.
nice for dinner tonight. All that,
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Talk about
Yeah.
facing that rehab from a physical standpoint. Obviously we talk a lot about mental here, but like what was
Yeah.
the physical like initial responses out of surgery?
Yeah, I mean, you're like, well, my grandpa, just to preface, is a physical therapist.
Hmm.
So I had gone through, like, I was thinking about being a PT myself. So I had done a lot of like rehab hours, done a lot of experience hours, volunteer hours, stuff like that. So he was on me right away, had a lot of stuff, and just having that, I know that in the back of my head, like if you go through these processes the right way and you really put your mind to it, like you can come back from it. And
Yeah.
that's what my helped me so much. Like I'm in pain and I feel like I need to do something about it. And
Hmm.
so luckily no one was using the game readies at Augsburg because COVID. So I had one of those and I was
Perfect.
game readying all the time, getting
All
the
the
ice on
time.
it and just always wrapping it, always doing something and just diving into that
Yeah.
so much that the hardest part was like doing nothing,
Hmm.
like when they tell you you're going once a week at that point to see them and they're like, just don't do anything, like just rest. And that's
Yeah.
like the hardest thing is like, I'm just sitting here in pain,
Yeah.
but I can't do anything. They're like,
Mhm.
just don't move it,
Yeah.
And for me, it's easier to just be like, well, I need to do something,
Yeah. Take your mind
And
off of it
so,
too. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess at that point, you're just stuck with it. And that's when you really have to face it and just embrace it. I've gone through some meditation classes. I really got into
Awesome.
it big then.
Mhm.
I use the Calm app a lot, and
Yeah.
that's actually kind of like helped me with basketball then in the future. Like
No doubt.
um, just using some other resources that people look into. A lot of athletes have talked about meditation, and I've
Hmm.
read books on it, took some classes on like Buddhism, other things like that that just kind of piqued my interest and just to help the mental so that you really just feel strong enough to face it.
Yeah.
And that really helped a lot.
Yeah, well, you
And
have
I
so much
mean,
free time too. It's
yeah,
like
that's
I,
true too.
for me, it was like, yeah, you can't, like the doctors
Yeah.
and PTs are like, don't do anything. So it's like, okay, I got to do something. I play
Yeah.
basketball all day, so I got to do something. But yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Getting into that Calm app, getting into different meditations, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
definitely can change the way you look at things for sure, and it's
Absolutely.
something that helped me a lot. So you get through
Yeah.
the initial dog days. You're back walking. You're at training house.
Hmm.
Where's your head at? And we'll talk about your obviously your pro career, but where's your head at as like an athlete? Or maybe you're not even thinking of yourself as an athlete right now. Like where like you talk about the fact that you like you're back running that kind of stage.
Yeah.
Where are
Yeah.
you, like, am I going to get back? Where was your head at mentally?
I mean, mentally, I would say I was just focused on the day to day,
Yeah.
trying not to look forward too much. Um, each little step forward was like felt so good. It was such a victory, like just being able to walk and then being able to run and jump and do all those things. And again, I was just so lucky to have the training house. I know
Yeah.
you've been there, and
Hmm.
it's just so great to have like
Yeah.
you have this community of people that are going through the same things as you.
Yeah.
And the experts, you have a whole team, a strength, a speed, your PT, and all these different people that are there for you every single day and really become a part of your family while you're
Yeah.
going through it. And so as an athlete, like you can also relate to a lot of like, well, this is what I'm having. This is my tendonitis. This is the muscles that I'm working on building.
Yeah.
These are the same exercises I see 15 people doing in training house.
Yeah.
And so you really just kind of get back into uh, getting excited about just little things. And so that brought me to JD too.
Yep.
JD Jones was
Hmm.
another blessing. And having him kind of have that basketball side still,
Yeah.
the training house, because you got all those guys that are experts in knee stuff, but he was the one that really like helped me like, all right, we're going to build you back into a basketball player too,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of work. And you got to have the right movements and building confidence in those movements. And so he was just amazing to have, kind of get me back into the basketball mindset, instead of just like a athlete recovering,
Yeah. Yeah, for
and so
sure.
that helped a lot
Yeah, well,
for sure.
there's so many amazing people there.
Yeah.
I kind of joked last week. I was like, Training House should be sponsored my podcast, but at the same time, it's like, I'd be doing it for free because I love those guys. I created
Yeah, those guys are great.
yeah, I created relationships with guys, I didn't know their name right away. They never introduced themselves to me, but through hearing it, you start to talk and you
Yeah.
chat, and then
Yeah.
it kind of gets tough to focus on, rehab. You're like, you want to get there
Yeah.
early and chop it up with people and chat,
Yeah.
and there's just such amazing, great people
Exactly.
over there, and I
Hmm.
think it helps, like you said, it just takes your obviously you want to deal with everything day by day, and it
Yeah,
takes your kind of takes your mental off, like obviously you want to have that idea of the long run, but at the end of the day, you have to, win every single day. And
for sure.
I think that's such a key important part of, of the rehab
Hmm.
process, especially when you're going through a major knee surgery that can take you out of, your athletic ability. If you're able to win each and every day, you can go to sleep that night happy,
Absolutely.
with the
Absolutely.
way you've gone,
You felt like you accomplished something, and
exactly.
it even like, that's what I'm saying. Like the hardest thing is when they tell you take the day off, don't do
Yeah.
anything. You feel like less
So
accomplished
hard.
that day, but it still is like you got to be able to accept that,
Yeah.
okay, I rested today, and that even was a win today,
And you
you
have to be
know?
able to do that too. You have to allow your body
Yeah.
to relax because
Hmm.
you talk about your
Yeah.
leg. There's so many different things going on in a leg that, like, yeah, we're
Yeah.
focusing on this knee, but like, hey, my hip might hurt, my
Hmm.
ankle might hurt, like this kind of little
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah. It's
you
all
know
connected for sure.
exactly, for sure.
And you
So
have, I don't know if like maybe you had setbacks or anything, but there was a point too where like you start to get better, and then you
hmm
have flare ups, your knee
yep.
starts to hurt, and it's
hmm
like, why am I not getting better?
yeah.
And that's the most frustrating thing. And if I didn't have the train house people, like I would have probably just let it spin, spin out
Oh,
of
for sure.
control, and you're just like, what, what's going on here? But having them like, um, continue to like tell me what's going on, what I need to
Yeah.
do to get better, and explain why, and then give me more exercises to fix
Yeah.
those things, then you can get through it. But
Yeah.
there was still some stretches where it's
No,
painful again.
we've talked about that a lot on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Having little setbacks and not letting them kind of deter your overall plan
Okay.
and your goal.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
obviously something came up, right? And you can't control that, but you can control how you react to it and how you get better and how you move forward. And you obviously you do move forward, and now you're over in Germany. You're playing professional basketball. We'll kind of wrap up
Yeah.
here talking about that. Like, is that something that was in your head through the rehab process, and then kind of take us through like the move over here and
Hmm.
Germany basketball in general as we wrap
Yeah.
up.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, as things started to get better, I was getting back to like actually playing basketball again with JD. Again, helped so much, and then
Yeah.
the pro am and having some pro am film helped a lot, because as you start to go through like, hey, I'm gonna try and play pro coming off a knee injury as a D3 guy after COVID, it's like,
Come
good
on,
luck.
Booker. That doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. That doesn't make
yeah.
sense.
Good luck. But I had a team here that I was fortunate enough to take a chance on me, and ended up having a great year. But I mean, man, it was a frustrating year. There's a lot of ups and downs. It's a whole
Yeah.
nother battle, learning, adjusting, and not even like just adjusting your game style, but also like it's my first full year after a
Yeah.
knee. And so all these things made it like, again, emotional. I had never like cried after a season so much, but it's because you feel so much that I put into this.
Yeah.
And to not only have a great year, but also go through this playoff run that we had last year with these guys that I bonded with so much,
hmm
um, to then make it to the championship last year and move the team up a league. Like it
It's
was
awesome.
waterworks after
Yeah.
those games, because you just put so much heart, passion. You think of all the grind that you did through your knee. You think of all the grind of your whole life, and it all comes out because you just care
Yeah.
so much, and you
Yeah.
just love the game so much. And that's why I'm here sacrificing family time and all these other things, that
Yeah.
I'm here for just this one reason, that's basketball. And I had some success. I had a taste of success, and what I did paid
You want
off. And
more
that was
now?
just, yeah,
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 for sure.
yeah. So all that came out, and I'm also lucky that the team wanted me to come back after last year. We got moved up a league. So Super exciting. We're 2-1 now in the higher league, the second league of Germany, and we're
Awesome.
proving that some of these Pro B guys can hoop.
There you
So
go. There you go.
yeah, yeah.
No,
So
that's
we're
awesome.
excited to be back. Yeah,
Yeah. No, we're happy. We're happy for you, Booker. We're super happy. You got through what you got through. I think your story is such a unique deal, and it's something that can be inspiring for a lot of young athletes. As we wrap up, we got a couple minutes here left. Kind of just we like to finish with like a kind of like a motivational kind of thing. If there's a kid listening to the podcast, or if there's somebody that's kind of in your shoes, what would you say to them if they're going through, maybe it's an injury, maybe it's adversity in their family life, so,
right.
something's making them struggle right now. What's your advice to them?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I guess I would just like mainly just focus on what it is that you love. Like,
Hmm.
is it the daily grind that you love? Is it the when you get in the arena and you see the lights come on and all the fans watching and you hit a bucket and
Yeah.
you feel the chills go through your spine?
Hmm.
Or is it like the what being with your buddies in the locker room? Is what is it about the
Yeah.
game? What is it about what you're doing that you love? And
Hmm.
just think about that every day.
Hmm.
Focus on that when it gets hard. And then that really just helps you like realize what you're doing is worth it.
Hmm.
And that is by far what's gotten me to where I'm at today. Just
Yeah.
focusing on that. And obviously there's luck, fortune, being handed who's in your circle and the
Hmm.
path that you're given, and just taking it. So
Yeah. No, that's awesome
that's
advice.
what I got.
It's awesome
Yeah, for
advice. I
sure.
think if
For sure.
once you realize what you love, and it's hard to
Yeah.
it's hard to stop loving it once you love it. And
Yeah.
obviously you're a testament to
Yeah.
that, playing, professionally. So Booker,
Thank you.
thank you for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it and love hearing your story. It's been
Thanks for having me.
episode 6 of the Waterwave podcast. I'm Parker Fox. Say your name.
Booker Coplin.
And we appreciate you guys listening.
Hey.
Make sure you tune in next week. You can find the podcast across all platforms: YouTube, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you guys tap in and check out our socials on Double Down on Instagram. We thank you guys for listening. And it's been Parker Fox, and I'm out. Peace.